Well, welcome to CapeCast. We got a full panel tonight. Must be something special going on. We got Mr. Allen per usual.
Allen.
How you doing, Allen?
I'm good, Brandon. I'm good.
And per our last live episode and all the Moon Knight reviews I know everybody's been watching, we got Britt.
It's Britt, bitch.
And it's been such a long time, and it's been
has.
so long since I've played this drop. I'm so excited to play it. Britt's used to be my favorite drop, but he's been here so often I played it a little too much now. But now I get to play this drop, so let me just let the drop play.
Chris!
I'll pick you up at noon.
Chris!
Awesome, I'm busy!
I'm busy, stupid dick!
There he is. He's Chris. He's back.
That's the whole
Hey,
reason.
Chris.
That was why I was excited that Chris was going to be on the show.
I know. The drops are fun. Everybody loves the drops, and that's why we do it. Chris, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Glad to be here. It's been a while.
Even if it's in a digital realm, I always love seeing your face. So, and your camera's always perfect. You got nice shallow depth of field going on. You and Ryan always doing these fancy things with your cameras.
all you gotta do is spend a lot of money. Everybody should do it.
Yeah. So anyway, appreciate all of y'all joining. Ryan is absent. I don't think he's on the show anymore. So, and after this episode, I told Alan, you and Britt can just have CapeCast. So, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, before we get started, let me hit some social stuff real quick. Per usual, follow CapeCast at Twitter at CapeCast Show, CiNEMACHiNE.pod.com. You can find all the links to social media platforms that we're on. In addition to Patreon, if you feel inclined to throw us some monies over there, please do. We appreciate that if you so choose to do that. And then I guess we should also say going forward, everything we talk about tonight for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is going to be full spoilers, so you've been warned. Yep. So got the spoiler tag. You know what's up. It's all spoilers. So, gentlemen, we all saw Doctor Strange 2. Britt, you and Chris saw it over the weekend. Alan and I saw it last night, so we're pretty fresh on it. Let's just go around the horn quickly. General thoughts. Tweet version. I myself have a hard time with this, keeping things concise. So we'll try and keep it as short as possible. But since Chris is he's back from a long absence, we're gonna let Chris go first. What do you think?
You guys know a little bit already of what I'm feeling. That it was not a good movie.
Okay.
It's just a disappointment. I think they maybe tried playing things safe and following a formula all the way around. I don't know. It didn't feel like a blockbuster to me. It felt like a filler episode of a TV show, kind of the same thing that I felt when I saw Guardians 2. This one was a much bigger disappointment because I had bigger expectations for it. So 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. All right. Cool,
Maybe.
cool. Britt?
It's a generous 5.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we may hear this around the room. Kind of in the same boat. I mean, I would say the second best Marvel 2 movie. So if you think of like Thor and things like that, first one being, of course, Captain America Civil War, but or Winter Soldier, not Civil War, Winter Soldier. But this one, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it did feel more like WandaVision season 2. It didn't really feel like a big movie that was necessarily 100% needed. We'll talk more about it. There's some saving pieces in it for me, so it's not the worst, but there's definitely a lot of stuff that I just feel like they could have done better.
Yeah. Okay. Alan.
Yeah. I sound like a parrot, broken record with these guys, but I don't know. It was better than Captain Marvel. It was better than Black Widow. It was better than, but like I said, I think think something that really hurt this was Spider-Man: No Way Home. Just crushed it as far as the multiverse thing goes, and I don't know that this movie could have lived up to that. Honestly, that movie was so much fun for me that this one, it just kind of fell flat. I agree with Brett as far as the second in a, heroes franchise, I guess you'd say.
Mhm.
It's better than most of the second movies that have come out, but all in all, I'm going a little higher than Chris. I would probably give it 6.5 out of 10. So not much higher, but a little bit higher.
You guys are surprising me. I thought you were gonna love it.
I think that are y'all like feeling like you can't be hyped for this movie?
We're coaxing you in.
Yeah.
We want you to speak your truth, okay?
I am.
Yeah.
Don't refrain because
I am.
okay.
There-
All right.
there's-
You've slowly been converting us to that DC world over the last year.
I'm sorry.
Bad timing.
I know.
Here, stay
know.
in your bubble. So I was kind of on the fence with this movie in terms of the marketing. I was like, it could be good. I was hoping that they were holding a lot back in the marketing, like they did with No Way Home. I found it to be kind of a very mixed bag of a movie. It had some cool moments, some cool flashes of Raimi-isms, some interesting horror elements, so to speak, for a PG-13 Marvel movie that I enjoyed. But I felt very weird and felt like it was 3 hours. Is my signal? Is my video coming through?
Yeah, you kind of.
You're popping in and out a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Had some technical difficulties, but back going. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. So yeah, I thought it was okay. Very weirdly paced, and I think I mentioned this. I don't know if it cut me off or not. I felt like it was a slog of a movie in terms of it was only 2 hours, a little bit over 2 hours, but it felt long. It felt longer than the Batman. It felt longer than Zack Snyder's Justice League. I was just, I don't know. I was just kind of I don't know. It didn't click for me. Mm-hmm. I think that it very much underutilized the idea of the multiverse.
Yep.
And this could be an instance where maybe expectations got the best of me. I also think there were some production issues that may have caused some things to go awry. We can get into that later. But yeah, I'll just say, I know this is one of those tweets that has like part 1 of 7 tweets.
This is a thread. There you go.
Review.
Yeah.
It's I can't help it. I do it every time. I'm sorry. But yeah, it was okay. Definitely, like Alan was saying, better than some of the recent efforts, but not great. And especially when compared to the first Doctor Strange, which I really enjoyed. I felt like it was it didn't hit the mark for me, unfortunately. But now that we've gotten done with our initial thoughts, we can just talk freely. Anything that let's go with, and anybody just speak up.
I've got a interesting kind of question for you guys too, with just pacing. So like you mentioned, Brandon, there being an awkward kind of pacing with the movie and things like that. And I wanted to see what you guys thought. Like, to me, the very beginning of that movie, it's like we were thrown into this movie of America Chavez running from this monster and all that. And then you've got Defender Strange popping in. There's some Spanish that's thrown in there right at the beginning. I'm like, oh, is this like, did I walk into the right language movie? And then it goes back to English. Like, I don't know if Marvel, because I've noticed this in a lot of the recent Marvel stuff where like there's not like a slow pace. Like if you even think of the last Guardians movie, like right when you jump in the movie, they're fighting the big monster and you're like, what's going on here? Like it felt weird like when the movie started. And I was wondering if everybody else kind of felt that way.
I didn't find it weird. I mean, they kind of do that in the first one.
Yeah.
don't they? With Mikkelsen's character, Mads Mikkelsen's character.
Yeah, I mean, stealing
throw you
the
right
book.
into-
Yeah,
That's not like necessarily. Many movies do that. They kind of just jump you into a fight.
He's seen many movies.
Fight.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
Many,
I've seen,
many
I've
movies.
seen some films, guys.
Um,
Quite a
He
few.
owns the show.
So that
So-
wasn't an issue for me.
So here's my take. I think I said this last night, Brandon. I can't really remember. I don't know how a movie could feel 4 hours long, but not feel like it was long enough. You know, like it felt very rushed, but very long. I don't really get how that happened, but
Madness.
there were so many. I mean, there were so
It's
many
the multiverse.
There were so many things.
Time continuum.
There were so many things that needed more time, and
Yeah.
but the movie drug ass. Like I just don't get it. I really like it. It makes no sense how it can be both at the same time. But
Yeah.
but
I agree.
I mean,
I don't-
he is he is magic. So he
Yeah.
pulled it off. I guess,
It was just weird because like we jumped from the beginning of the movie all the way to like him talking to Wanda and Wanda be like, "Oh yeah, America Chavez. Oh, you didn't tell me her name." Like it just kind of like felt like that first bit should have been longer than that or something. It just kind of like got crunched. And just as a side note, I was reading an article yesterday that said in an interview with Sam Raimi, and he was saying like he didn't even watch all of WandaVision. He just saw a couple bullet points that they told him to watch to make sure that was in the movie as reference. And I feel like after watching the movie, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That because like she had a redemption arc and everything, and like you get to this movie and like, nope, she just wants her kids back. Like I don't know, just
yeah.
It's
It's
Behind
weird
any of the
because
writing on this,
I hear
like the writing seemed worse than the direction to me. Well,
I think they
hard to
brought
say,
in the
kind of-
writer
well, I
from
think it's a little
Loki.
bit.
I think they brought in the writer from the Loki show to do like another pass on the script after Derrickson left. I think that's what I heard. But I don't know. I don't understand because I don't know how much Raimi just seems like a director for hire. It seems like Derrickson wanted to tell one story. Marvel's like, nope, we're doing this, and he was like, all right, see ya. And then they kind of apparently they hired Raimi over one weekend and he was like, yeah, sure. And he hadn't done a movie in like 10 years. And so he was kind of like brought on to, as like, I know how to manage a big budget movie. I'll do this kind of thing and add some flourishes here and there. But I don't know how much, I don't think any director has much say when it comes to MCU.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's
I did.
And
get
as far as the
early-
WandaVision stuff, you would think that whoever is in the like narrative leads on the Feige and the whatever their names are, the two writers that kind of head up everything, Marcus and McFeely. You would think that they would be like, they would know to have this like thread line, because it just like the location that Wanda is in is not the same location. Like she's on a lake in a cabin. In WandaVision. Now she's like in the forest somewhere or something in an orchard. And then they kind of ignore a lot of her character arc development from WandaVision. It's also one of those things where if you didn't watch one, even though they don't really completely follow that narrative to a T, you still kind of have to watch it to know kind of what leg she's on, starting
Who
from
those annoying kids are.
well, that's
to know who the kids are and why she's going after them.
Well, I mean, it felt like some of the it's definitely a Raimi moment when the orchard changes, and it's revealed that she's been using the Darkhold. And I think that was something that really appealed to him, and you could see that he used it a lot because there were so many Evil Dead, like so many references to Evil Dead with the Necronomicon, and I mean it's looked like the exact same book, so I'm sure that Raimi had fun with that stuff. And that moment was cool. The little switch where the orchard was, like rotten or whatever, and so that was cool.
I think that was the problem with a lot of this is those cool moments, like that you could geek out on the Raimi-isms.
Yeah.
Those were the only things to geek out on.
Yeah.
And they didn't matter. Like none of that push the story. It wasn't like a cool
No.
moment. And if hadn't been Raimi behind it, I don't know if any of us would care that much.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think there was like a lot of that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Alan was saying with like it coming after Spider-Man, right? Like we had the exact opposite with Spider-Man, and I think that the biggest thing that was rough with this movie is Spider-Man was a movie made for the movie fans, right? It was for all the Spider-Mans that you've watched the movie universes, Sony and MCU, and now you get to experience that as a fan and see everything come together. The weird part about this movie is there's so many comic book references that like the average, and I'm not even like huge into all of the Wanda comic stuff, but everything that was there is so deep in the comics where a comic fan's gonna be like, oh, that's so cool. There's Mount Wundagore and there's this and that and this that, you know, the only way people know about that is if they went and watched the videos like this may be in you know the next movie and they may reference it because of this comic book. So
like what Sam Raimi did, he watched a roundup movie of the MCU before he filmed this. You know?
Yeah. So it's just interesting how different those two movies feel, and I agree with you, Alan, and the fact that like with it coming after Spider-Man, it just I think it did hurt it in a way because we were expecting much more with the multiverse. We were expecting much more of callbacks that make sense within this world.
Yeah,
Multiverse
also
didn't seem like a big deal.
Yeah, it was just like even like that sequence where they're like punching through different, like they're falling through different multiverses. You would expect the thing that I mean, this is fan service, but I'm like I would have loved to have seen them going through different universes that we've seen, at least some of them. But it just felt like they hit like random world generator 1, random world generator 2, animated world generator, paint, like just like nonsensical, like who cares? Nothing, like there's nothing, you know, maybe there is some sort of Easter egg to find deep in there, but like it's so quick that it's like
there's a few. I mean, like you have like the noir world that they fall through for a brief second, but I would agree with you in the fact that What If did it better. When they were fighting through the worlds in What If, and you could actually be like, oh, that's that world, like because they were in there for a little bit longer, or you saw a character or something. So
even the world they end up with, where you get to see the Illuminati and all that stuff, like that just felt like reskinned Atlanta, like with some like some foliage on the streets, like new like crosswalks. And that was it. I don't know. And then okay, let's talk about the actual like one reveal fan servicey type thing that's in here, which is the Illuminati stuff. It felt so tacked on. It felt like they were like, all right, let's sit these guys up in front of a green screen, and who are we gonna do? What's gonna be cool? Remember the Inhumans show? Remember that? No, nobody does. Okay, well, we're gonna get one of the guys from Inhumans.
Give him his real costume.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like that is he is a founding member of the Illuminati, Black Bolt is, but you don't know that unless you've read those comic books, and most people have not read those comic books. So
and nobody cared for that TV show, so it just
the TV show. Oh my god, that show was.
The
awful.
Professor X thing was cool to see, I guess.
I wish it wasn't in the trailer. That was the one thing that bothers me so much about that was they had his voice in the first one. He has too distinctive of a voice, and then the second trailer they literally show his yellow hover chair with his hand there, and like I do like that. Like
they didn't have a lot of things to hide. Like that was I thought they were holding so much, just similar to Spider-Man. I thought they were holding everything close to the vest, but they really weren't.
Yeah,
besides
that
like
was me.
The John Krasinski Fantastic Four reveal is only
and even that stuff. Like it was cool to see for a second, and like that was maybe one takeaway of like, oh, we finally get to see it, but it didn't feel like it was a big deal. The multiverse itself didn't feel like it mattered to anything. It was like, just like I said earlier, just to me felt like filler of like, oh, we're jumping through and we're going to see something that it doesn't matter. Clearly it doesn't matter because she's going to destroy all of this and they're going to just like book it out of there. So who cares? Like,
well, okay. So I want to ask theater experience with you guys. Like, how was it when you two went and saw the movie. I know how it was for Brandon and I, but
It was awful for me. This guy on my right was like audibly like
he's asking us,
gasping
Brandon, because we were there
okay.
on the night it came out.
I'm kidding. Well, I'm saying that because Alan is right beside me. Now there was a guy to my left that was like nerdgasming very hard.
Yeah.
To things that I'm
that's what I mean.
know you
Okay,
watched the trailer. I know you knew Professor X was in this movie. There's no way you should be freaking out over this.
Now
You
I
already
did.
knew this was happening.
I will admit, when I heard the '90s theme,
I did like that.
I did like it. That was that was a very nice touch. I did enjoy that. But I feel like had the theater been full and we would have gotten maybe a more hyped crowd reaction from the Mr. Fantastic reveal, maybe it would have been cooler. But there was maybe 20 people in there with us. So
yeah. What about you, Chris? I'll talk about mine after. But like, how was your theater on the night of release?
Well, I didn't do the night of. I did a matinee on Saturday.
Okay.
So it was a pretty early showing for me, and it was a pretty empty theater. So there really wasn't too much going on with the audience. I mean, the most interaction I was able to kind of get from people was after it ended, and people were just waiting through the credits, and I could kind of hear them talking, and I was just like, man, those kids are really annoying. Did they do that again? It was just that behind me was the only thing I got from the audience.
So I went to the 7:00 Thursday, whatever. So the first showing of everything, and it wasn't Spider-Man. It wasn't like Spider-Man was like every 5-10 minutes clapping, cheering. In this one, I mean, it was definitely Professor X, which everybody knew. John Krasinski was a big one. I really don't even think Black Bolt got claps. And
nobody knew who he was.
Yeah, and so like I watched the Bad Inhumans series, and I was glad he did get a quote unquote redemption. He really didn't, but he kind of did, I guess, because he got his
Neo moment. That was cool.
Yeah. So there was some clapping throughout, but again, I feel like what hurt them was they revealed the big reveals first, and then like in the trailers and stuff. And so when you see all these characters, like in the little nuances, like most people didn't know them. They don't know who the comic book characters are that are actually big characters in this movie, or not big characters, but like I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but like the Green Minotaur, he is a big character in this world in the comics, but like in MCU, he's not. So there's all these little
bull boy. Sorry.
There's a lot of different nuances, and like even here, it was most of the theater missed most of it. So if one person clapped, the other one would, but that was about it. But
yeah, it's not to say that these movies have to have that kind of stuff, but when you have a concept like the multiverse and you set an expectation that we're going to do some crazy stuff with stuff that you've seen, stuff you haven't seen, like it's going to be ridiculous and bonkers and hold on to your butts kind of thing. And it was just like toss it around. Like, I don't know, like the Krasinski thing was a cool bit of fan service, but it felt so tacked on. Like I said, green screen, they just had him for a day. He didn't feel comfortable in this role. His eye line wasn't even matching the rest of the stuff around him. They all felt like they never saw each other.
That whole universe budget felt like low to me.
Yeah. He looked like, I mean, it legit, it looked like they looked at all of the fan-made art of him as Reed Richards and picked the best looking one and made it exactly like it. I mean, it looked like something Boss Logic made. It didn't look like an MCU suit. I mean, even like Captain Carter. We saw her in What If, but this wasn't even the same Captain Carter from What If. So like
also,
that's the other
felt
piece.
Like she had like zero athleticism, and like she felt very uncomfortable, like in any kind of. She had no physicality. Like she just was.
I also hated her
a few
intro.
moments where you could tell it was a stunt double, but like she didn't feel like she belonged in the role.
She wasn't imposing. Intro was like kind of forced and dumb to me.
Yeah, well, I was like, why did you do that? Like, you just ruined that pillar for like no reason. That
was weird.
Yeah. So it was weird because like I was just thinking when we think of the intertwinedness of the MCU, like it's weird because they did state when they started the Disney Plus stuff, like you don't have to watch the Disney Plus stuff to see the movies and vice versa and all that. But like now after seeing them, like, no, they should have really made sure you had to see What If or you had to see WandaVision, because like now it just feels so disjointed of like, oh, we already saw the evil Doctor Strange. We already saw Supreme Strange Supreme or whatever. Like, yeah, we've seen all these pieces, but like they're not the same. They're not tied back to it. So they just feel very disjointed. And the other side of it is like when we think of cameos, I mean, they had the Ultron bots, but they did never mention like Iron Man. Like, is he alive? Is he not in their universe? Like, you know, is it Ultron or is it just the bot? Like, there was just some pieces in there. Like, I just feel like, to your point, Alan, it was a long movie, but I feel like they cut out a bunch of stuff, or they just decided not to film a bunch of stuff that would have given explanations or reasons why we cared about that universe. Because I really feel like the Illuminati didn't do anything, so theoretically they could have landed in any universe in the multiverse, and it would have been the same outcome. Wanda's
That's what I mean,
after
like,
America.
Like they took the effort to cast, even if it was just for fan service. They took the effort to cast these people in these roles, you know, and it just felt like, I don't know, it just felt like such a waste. We could have cut, I mean, God, for that matter, the throwaway tumbling through the multiverse thing, you could have just did away with that and had more time with the Illuminati and actually got to develop these characters somewhat. Because had we gotten, you know, 15, 20 minutes of meeting these characters and interaction, good interaction, their deaths would have actually meant something, because to me, their deaths were more meaningless. They just, and it would have been so much cooler if you would have been able to develop some sort of attachment to these guys before that happened.
Yeah, they seem like a waste in a few ways to me. One, their deaths, they were kind of gruesome.
Yeah.
And a little bit more than what we typically see in the MCU. But on the same side, I felt like this movie was the most Disney feeling MCU movie I've ever seen. But they were throwing that in there, and I just felt like they didn't know what they were trying to do, and it just didn't. It definitely felt like
two different directors battling each other, which could be it could be like Raimi trying to inject his style, but also trying to appease the beast that is, you know, Disney's Marvel.
Well, and I kind of going off of that, like, I'm curious, what do you guys think about it in the fact of now we have this horror filling movie? So I know after I watched it, a bunch of people in the Discord that I hang out with and stuff, they were like, hey, so how was it? I'm thinking about taking my kids. I'm like, my response is like, I don't think it's a kids movie. Like, I think like 12 and up, you're probably fine. But like, there's some of those scenes that feel like The Ring, The Grudge, that kind of aspect where I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I mean, I know my daughter's not going to see it because she's 4, but like, I don't know, like Brandon, from your side, like some of those felt a little freaky for like, you know, a younger kid to watch.
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
not, but
it's going to vary from kid to kid. I think my kid could handle it, but I don't think it. I think there would be moments that would be a little too much for her. But I don't know. I think that would be, if I'm going to praise the movie, I would say I did appreciate some of those things that Raimi was able to kind of put in there that felt more like him as a director. I just wish that it was a complete, you know, beginning and end Raimi experience versus a hodgepodge.
It seemed like
and also, you know, this movie, Chris, you asked me yesterday when we talked on the phone, you asked if there was production issues, and I didn't know at the time, so I did some research today to find out they did have a massive, like, 6 or 7 week pickup reshoots. Again, depends on, I said this earlier on the live show, but pickups is when it's when you want to paint in a good light, and reshoots is when you want to paint in a bad light. So yeah, these are 6 to 7 weeks is considered a lot for a movie.
It felt like
it's not a baked in.
Issues.
Well, and you could tell his hair looked different.
Even did y'all notice that
lot,
Wong's hair looked like a toupee in the last sequence there. Like it looked like there was no hair. It was just like an obvious toupee sitting on his head to me.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I don't know. And then this movie was also supposed to come out before No Way Home. So it seemed like they had to retrofit a lot of things and change things, add some ADR here and there. I don't know. Who knows to what extent. And I wonder if that you already have, for the longest time, you had Scott Derrickson, who did the first one, on board to do this. And then, things went awry, and he's still on board as a producer, but pretty much in name only.
Yeah.
Because he did the first one, he gets that credit. But when things like that happen, especially in a monolith like Marvel, to me, it's a disservice to the final product almost always. Sometimes there are moments when it's not, but usually it ends up being either just like barely scathes away and is an okay movie, like I think this one is, or it's a nightmare of a movie like Justice League. Or like Fantastic Four, or something, that's has an obvious, very public, troubled history production wise. But yeah, I don't know. And then even like, it seems like in the press that Raimi has kind of like tried to like temper expectations. Like, it was, you were saying, Britt, about him not watching WandaVision completely, and like him kind of talking about the beast that is working under Disney umbrella. And then you got Bruce Campbell kind of being a mouthpiece for Raimi, saying, there's big reshoots going on. I don't even know if Benedict Cumberbatch knows if he's in this movie or not. And like saying stuff like that, to where
I hated what they did with him.
Oh, dude. That's why I think his original cameo was cut. And they added this little pizza guy thing. That was freaking awful.
Like, I know that Raimi is a big Three Stooges guy, but that was just like the dumbest, weird slapstick. Like, why I oughta? Like, I don't know. I don't know what they were doing with that.
Yeah, that was something I was super excited to see who he was, because I mean, he could have been Mephisto. I mean, like he could have. They could have made him anybody in any other universe, and it would have been awesome. Not some pizza cart guy. You know what I mean? That beats himself up for 3 days.
From a filmmaking standpoint, it felt like they had 30 seconds to shoot this, and they shot it, and it looked like an SNL skit. Like it looked, and then they bring it back in that very last end credits sequence.
Sorry,
everybody in our theater thought that was hilarious, Alan, but I was just like, "Get me out of here! This is so freaking."
We had the laughs too, and I was like, "Yeah, it wasn't worth staying." I could have looked at that on YouTube in a couple of days and been okay with it.
Had I known that was what the second, the end credit scene was, then we would have gotten up and left. I wouldn't have stayed for that. I should have texted you. I should have texted you and be like, don't even bother with the second one. But please, my bad.
Well, let's talk about the first one. Let's talk about two beats. So the very end with the third eye.
Weird.
That was very Raimi. That was very Raimi. That was Evil Dead, like through and through. That was every movie he's done. He had that drop where it just ends, and
well, not necessarily the way it ends, but
you're just saying the third eye, like
the thing. I looked freaking weird anyway, dude. That eye looked. Oh,
the thing that I don't like about it is like the eye is because of Strange Supreme, like because the Darkhold gets involved with him, like it transforms them. So like if you've watched What If, he takes the powers of a bunch of people, and one of the monsters kind of essentially starts changing him into that. So the other Strange has that, the one he's battling in, the world that's like collapsing. But what I don't like is like he only looked at the Darkhold for just a little bit of time, and then it disappeared. It got burnt up or whatever. Like, so to me, it doesn't make any sense that now he's in that world of the third eye. But I don't know. I don't know if they're going to kind of take him down this dark path, which again would make sense. But what are your thoughts, Chris? I know you're in the comic book world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care so much about like the little comic book callbacks nowadays. Like we've seen so many of them. I'd rather just see a good movie and like a cool idea than these little nods. Like every now and then it might be something that will like kind of excite me, but for the most part, I'm over it. I don't really care. Yeah. And just like you said, it didn't make sense to me that he had it based on what we just saw and just the way it was done with like this guitar riff that I'm sure Brandon maybe was called in to do. That just, I don't know. I was like, what are they doing right now? Like, is the audio off?
Very-
Like, what's happening? And then
Yeah.
it ended, and I was like, okay, that was dumb.
There's a lot of
Like most
little
of the movie.
weird. I know
Mhm.
the whole like music note battle sequence was strange.
That was very
Yeah,
Disney
pun-
to me.
That
No
was
pun
fantastic.
intended.
That looked like Fantasia.
Yep,
You know,
that's what I was thinking the whole
that's-
time.
Yeah. I thought
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know. The third eye thing. I mean, I see what you're saying, Britt. It's just a weird note to end on, but
Mhm.
could just also be like you're saying, Alan, just an intentional, like abrupt, crazy WTF Raimi ending.
Oh, it definitely was a WTF moment. Because I was like,
What do you guys think about Wanda's arc as far as they seem to just set her at 10 and let her go and some of the like this whole multiverse stuff, like with her trying to get the whole kid element, like
Yeah. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Like,
I don't understand how like every multiverse version of her has these exact same kids in every situation. Just like Strange talking to the dark Doctor Strange when he was like telling him, like trying to explain, hey, I'm legit Doctor Strange, and this is why, because when you grew up, like, why would they have the same backstory? There's supposed to be different versions of this
Yeah.
character.
Yeah,
Well,
that makes
it's-
sense. Where he's like, prove it. It's like,
Yeah,
let me tell you a story that probably won't make sense.
well, it's one of those things where like, and we kind of saw this in What If, right? So there's two different versions of multiverse and timeline. So, and I think that this is the kind of like getting into the weeds, but there's the timeline, which is Loki, right? You change one thing and something else happens. Not Loki, What If. So like What If with Captain Carter, like it's one thing happened different in that timeline, something else happened. Loki is a whole different world, meaning somebody can look totally different or whatever, but still be Loki in the world. So I think that the problem right now that Marvel's facing is you have these two different things that are different, but they're using them as the same thing, calling it the multiverse. And so like Spider-Man uses the Loki version of the multiverse, but what we're seeing a lot in Doctor Strange is the What If version of one little tweak. So it's still the same Doctor Strange, but at some point in some of them, and at some point something happened different and then he went dark or he went whatever. So that's what I didn't like about this is
I get that, but it's like
I don't think the writers are looking at it.
Confident thing to be like, I'm Doctor Strange, and here's how I'm going to tell you. But what if he was the Doctor Strange that was like didn't have any of that stuff? When you're talking about butterfly effect type things, it's like,
yeah, well,
I don't know.
Also,
It just seems like it's a convenience when it's needed for the plot. But then, like, it seemed like every other version of Wanda, she had these kids. But if they are all a manifestation or a creation of her own doing and not real kids,
well, I
don't
think
know.
I think she created him in WandaVision because the whole point of when you dream, you're thinking of alternate realities, and they kind of explain that towards the beginning. So I think when Wanda was dreaming, she was dreaming of these kids, and then she manifested these kids. Maybe she pulled them from the other universes with dark magic. I don't know, but they have some disjointedness right now. They're going to have to resolve of how they're going to address this.
How they're going to get rid of those
multiverse
kids.
timeline.
This kid suck.
Well, that's another thing is I thought that the multiverse was introduced in Loki, and then I thought it was introduced in No Way Home, and now it's not. In No Way Home, the sling ring could pull things from different multiverses, but now it's only America Chavez that can go into different.
The sling ring was pulling them from somewhere in the same world. So those Peters had came into his universe, and they were wandering around in the universe.
But Doctor Strange's spell is what caused the rift, right?
No, so yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Kevin Feige said everything in Loki is what caused everything so far to happen. So the rift in Loki that they did is caused Homecoming or No Way Home, and it caused Doctor Strange. So I don't know how they're going to explain that because it doesn't feel connected. But he's saying
Loki
that
finale,
moment is what did all that.
Yeah, that finale.
For sure.
That felt like a bigger deal to the multiverse and the MCU as a whole and where it would go than this did. Like that seemed like this is like things are about to change and get it crazy. and here's how we've just like set this up to be hit. And I assumed that Multiverse of Madness was going to go into that more, and we'd start seeing where the MCU is going.
Yeah.
And this just felt like we'll fall through a couple worlds, and you see little snapshots, and then none of it's going to matter, and we won't really address anything.
Well, and don't get me wrong, I think that I love the John Krasinski thing, and I hope that he gets a chance to play Reed Richards. I've seen people, floating ideas of him possibly directing a Fantastic Four movie and starring in it as well. And I would love it because I love John Krasinski, and I think that would be great. But it seemed a shame, kind of like what Chris was saying, opening up the sandbox and just letting this movie play through it. I mean, I thought that was kind of the whole point when Disney bought Fox was. Yeah, we could access the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, and we got like one guy from the X-Men movies and then nobody from any other movie.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense.
I mean, technically we got Ralph Boner before as well from the X-Men movies.
But we don't talk about him.
No, I agree with, I think that's the hard part is this has been the first Marvel movie to me that hasn't felt like Kevin Feige oversaw it. It just feels like this weird movie that they put in here. But it doesn't connect. Like if you look at every other,
you're saying pedigree wise, because he has historically been able to knock them out of the park. But I feel like this is where things.
I'm talking about connectivity. Connectivity, though.
I think things are getting out of hand over there in terms of trying to connect all these things, and then when you're having to be slave to so many previous movies, so many future movies, and then you can't have it, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have a director-driven movie and a studio-driven movie that's tied into all these grand plans and all these things that came before. It's just not possible. So you got to pick one. So it's pointless for you to hire a person with any kind of like name or style or vision. It's also one of those things where when you're also having to play ball with another studio when it comes to Spider-Man, and then therefore you have to, because that movie came out when it wasn't supposed to, it came out before your movie that was supposed to be set before it, then you have to go back and reshape this movie into like, I don't know. I'm getting so tired of this format, this like episodic format. I really just want movies. I want a movie that I can watch and not have to like remember, oh yeah, what happened in this one, and then this, he showed up in this one, and then and then that, like,
well, I
know that's been like one of the selling points, and it's been one of the, but at this point it's becoming homework, and it's becoming like, okay, I'm going to go see this just so I can be a part of the conversation. I'm going to watch this TV show so I can be a part of the conversation. But
I think you can do that.
Am I watching this because I enjoy this, or am I watching this because I want to know what the end credits scene is?
Am I eating because I'm unhappy, or am I unhappy because I'm eating?
But I think you can do that, though. I mean, if you look at like Black Panther, if you look at the original Guardians movie, like you still have these standalone movies with like 5-second connections. But I think if you look at something like
Moon Knight is pretty standalone.
But I think when you look at Doctor Strange 2, so you're looking at a second movie to one that's already tied completely into the franchise. I think you have to have a story. Now, I don't think it has to look the same. What I would have loved is
that's popped up in different movies, also dealing with WandaVision or Wanda.
Right.
WandaVision. You had to watch WandaVision to know anything about her motivation. Really. Like,
but the thing is, like, I would have been fine with that. And the thing is, I would have loved to see Sam Raimi be able to do more of his stuff. I would have loved to see this be more of a horror movie. Like, I love those horror movie aspects of it because it felt like a fresh, new style of movie from the MCU. My problem with it, though, is the story was so weak. Like, the fact that she's going from 0 to 10, like you said, she had a redemption arc in WandaVision of, okay, I did a lot of wrong stuff. I'm still going to look for my kids, but now I'm going to go kill a kid to go get my kids. Like that's the part where just like we rushed this whole story. There's a lot of it that doesn't make sense. And I think the story is the weakest part. And you could have had Kevin Feige or whoever like be like, look, this is what the story has to be. and you get to do something with that story and tell it in your own way. So make it the horror movie you want, but here's 70% of the timeline you need to follow. And I think there's a compromise in there because you get to do your style on top of it. But I don't know. I mean, that's the part is like I loved pieces, and the pieces I loved were the horror movie aspects. Like when she comes through when she's coming through like the reflective pools and comes through the gong or whatever, or when they're chasing her through the hallway, which I still am like, why do you keep stopping? Just keep running.
I know.
But
that's
it's
like that's horror movie trope. Like it's part of that style. So
yeah,
I agree.
And
those are the moments that were good.
And that's what and that's for me one of the biggest shames of the movie is that Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, could have been an amazing villain. Like there were flashes where she was awesome, and
more complex
the way,
villain.
And the way that she ripped apart the Illuminati, that could have been so much more than what it was. You know what I mean? Like it just felt like a waste. She
seemed like a weird farewell for her as a character. Because like they spent the past half decade at least kind of building her up to be somewhat of a fan favorite.
Yeah.
And they're just like, all right, now she's just going to be like a ruthless villain, and there she goes.
It is it's very common to add the whole like parent kids angle to a character to make them sympathetic. And in this case, they tried to play that card too heavily. Like I'm a mother. Like whatever she says to Strange, I'm not crazy, I'm a mother, or whatever she said. I don't know. But she plays that note pretty heavily throughout the entire thing. Like she's doing everything she's doing is for her kids. And so
what about the other Wanda when she like snaps to and she's like, my boys, and just like runs off? Like, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we go, we need to talk. I guess we haven't said a word about America Chavez. She's a new character they added. What do you guys think about her in this movie? In terms of, I don't have a lot of connection to the character itself. Obviously, they use her kind of as a MacGuffin to be able to travel back and forth. They try to build her as like this young kid, like a Peter Parker type character for Strange. But for me, she didn't really fit in this, whether I know she's from a different universe, but she just didn't feel organic to this movie. And then her the star shape, like it just felt like a little hokey. Like
that was pure comic book. I mean,
I'm sure it is.
Book,
doesn't mean it's cool.
Brandon, you don't read.
They're building the Young Avengers, and she's part of it. If you look at what's currently out there, you have what's the Marvel Rising, which is the whole like female-led teenager like comic movie or TV show series and stuff that's going on right now, and she's one of them. So is Miss Marvel. I'm sure we'll get Squirrel Girl at some point, like all of those characters. Yay! And I think that's. I mean, I think that's why she's there. I for me in the movie, that could have been Magic. That could have been. There's so many other characters that can cross dimension, piece. And what's kind of weird is they wrote, so Wanda's supposed to be, and even in WandaVision, they kind of mention this or hint at this. She should be a Nexus being that can travel between universes or multiverses. And she's supposed to be in that spot where there's only one of her. It just like what America Chavez says, like I've traveled everywhere and there's only me. There is no other copies. And so it's interesting that they kind of didn't do that with Wanda. Well, I guess they couldn't based on the stuff, but I don't know. I mean, it could have been anybody, but I know what they're doing with her. So
I'm indifferent. She was fine, I guess. I'm
not saying that she was like a bad actor or character or anything. I just felt like she wasn't very
that's what I mean.
Like
to
the story. And
I did
visually she stood out and again, I know that she's from a different universe, so maybe she's supposed to stand out character design wise, but she just didn't feel like in this like pretty dark like horror movie. I mean, she's got like a jean jacket and she's very different looking amongst everything else around her.
I did. One of the bright spots in the movie for me was again, it was similar to No Way Home. I like Doctor Strange's interaction with her. I like how he is with the younger characters. He's very mentor, father figure.
Yeah.
That's kind of
I did like that part.
That's kind of
So Brandon doesn't like.
Well, I don't necessarily not like. I like Cumberbatch as Strange, but he's
I'm talking about the mentor aspect.
He's very much Tony Stark as a wizard. Like,
yeah,
that's kind of who he is.
They're the Beard Bros, man. You got to read the comics. They're the Beard Bros. They're together.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, he's definitely falling into that role now that Tony is out of the picture. But yeah. And then obviously that's what they were kind of doing here. But I just didn't feel like they had enough time for him to care as much about her. Even though she's in the movie, the whole movie. I just felt like the beats that they between the two of them, and for him to, make that choice towards the end, not to take her power, that all the other Stranges had done apparently, or the last one that she'd encountered did.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just needed a little bit more. Again, shortest long movie or longest short movie ever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Crammed a lot in, but felt there was a lot of fatigue.
I didn't like her very cliche. Just believe in yourself, and then you can do it. And she's like, you're right. And then she can do it. And then like the whole thing that she wanted to find her mom's. And as soon as she's able to do whatever she wants, she's like, I guess I'll throw a robe on and like train with you guys for no reason.
Yeah.
Not gonna look for them. I'll find them later. They're probably dead. Yeah. It's all good.
That's cool.
I want to. So going back to the cameos real quick, because I want to kind of throw this out to you guys and a curiosity question. And for anybody watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below. But the one thing I found interesting is they chose for every one of these cameos, they chose to use the same actors in the same roles. So if we look at Spider-Man, right? All the Peter Parkers are different actors for Peter Parker, but it's the same character in the different multiverse. But in this movie, every one of the cameos, so like, yes, it's not Captain America, but this is still the same character that plays Carter as Captain America. It's still the same character playing Captain Marvel. It's just their circumstances. The other person got the power, but it's still the same actor or actresses. So, and even in Black Bolt being that kind of thing with same character from the series. So I'm curious, when we look at John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, do you guys think that they're going to recast him once we get to Fantastic Four? I haven't really looked at all the casting stuff. I see random stuff popping up, but like, do you think we're going to see the same character? And now we're going to get in a weird spot where all of these people are the same actors except for one, two, or three.
I think it's a matter of, for that, I think this is a matter of Hollywood logistics of who they could get, which is why you've got whoever the hell plays the Inhumans character, because he's probably cost $10 to come play that role again. Yeah. And then,
but, I mean, you have Mordo, right, coming back as the same character. Like, I guess that's where I'm getting at is you have all these people reprising their roles in a different universe.
Again, I think Chiwetel is like, we got Chiwetel Ejiofor. Let's keep using him. They haven't used him really since the first movie, I don't think. And then with like Professor X, I don't think Patrick Stewart is not going to.
I mean, I don't think he'll come back. But I don't think when they get to X-Men,
it's a matter of, okay, we'll play into nostalgia with Patrick Stewart. Lashana Lynch, probably a lot cheaper to get than whatever Brie Larson, and this will be an alternate version. And then the whole Krasinski thing, all this stuff felt like, we'll do this quickly. We don't have, we're already spending way too much money because we're having to reshoot everything. And so it was probably like a matter of like circumstances in terms of, I see what you're saying. I think it's just definitely possible. I think, because see, the whole, like, people were really confident that we'd probably see like alternate versions of like, maybe we'll see the Tom Cruise version of Tony Stark, because he was supposed to play Tony Stark originally. Maybe we'll see the Krasinski version of Captain America because he was supposed to
Yeah.
play Captain America, like that kind of
Or
thing.
the Chris Evans, Human Torch. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
there's so
exactly.
much
Like
stuff
things
they
like
could have
that.
done, you know.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm getting at is like I would have loved to see at least one character like that so that they don't. It's almost like, and not that they've written themselves in a corner because they can easily fix that, right? But it's just so weird that you look at like all these multiverses. So even Wanda, when she goes into the other universe, it's the same Wanda. It's not different. It's not like one of the other Olsen twins playing Wanda in this universe, with a kid. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm worried a little bit in that sense, and
but also,
we'll
Britt,
see what
though,
happens.
you also got to look at that as when it comes to comparing it to the Spider-Man side of things. You don't get that type of movie without choosing those Spider-Man.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. I'm saying I would have loved to see a different cameo.
I think it's just a matter of convenience. I don't think it means anything one way or the other. I think it's still. I don't think it means that Krasinski is not coming back as Richards.
Yeah,
and I don't think it does. I think it could be the case.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And when you're saying, I think Alan said this about Krasinski directing Fantastic Four. I could see that happening.
They just lost their director. They need another one.
That's another red flag when it comes to directors dropping out, creative differences. This guy just made them so much freaking money, and then they are butting heads with him about this Fantastic Four movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, my thing is,
I'd honestly rather see Krasinski do something different because I love both the Quiet Place movies. But
the last thing I'll say is I feel like the multiverse thing gave them the perfect opportunity to get away from this connected story, and they could go wherever they want, and they're not doing it for some reason, and that sucks. You know what I mean? I just feel like this was the perfect opportunity to step out, and
I still think they're writing characters off at this point. I think we'll see that after this phase. I think when they set up and I don't think it'll be the X-Men. I don't think we're going to see Professor X and Wolverine and all that. I think when they start this, we may see Wolverine, but I think when they start the mutants, we're going to get a different class of heroes, so that you're not tied back to the people from Fox and whatnot. But I think it's one of those things that they're in a spot where they're trying to wrap up Thor, they're trying to wrap up Guardians, they're trying to wrap up all of this stuff that we're used to. So when we get to phase 5, we can start over. We can be in a new universe. We can be somewhere else and not have to worry about as much of the interconnectivity. So that's just my thought.
maybe so. That's very optimistic of you.
Wake me up when we get to phase 5 then, because phase 4 has not been very fun yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of over Marvel after this.
No, it's rough. It's rough.
Taxing. It's very taxing.
Oh, I also, before I forget, want to bring up one of the things I hated the most in this movie.
The kids.
Okay.
And it's something they do in tons of movies, and I don't know why. And it's this weird thing, and they did it in this, and I hate it. But when Doctor
After
Strange,
credit scene.
Yeah, that's stupid too. But when he steps on that dumb little look into your memories thing, and it shows him getting the watch. For whatever reason in movies, somebody gets handed a wrapped gift, and they look at it and they go, "What is it?" And he did it too. I'm like, who does that in real life? Nobody does that. If somebody asks you what is it, you just open it. That's the whole reason why this is wrapped. Why do we keep doing this in movies? Why did you just do this?
Yeah,
so that really bothered me.
It's because if you say something bad, well, I'm not going to open
terrible writing.
That's an interesting thing to get hung up on, Chris. But I do agree with you. It is kind of dumb, but it wasn't on my radar.
It's tropey.
It's on mine.
I guess.
We
can tell. We can tell it's on yours.
That did remind me though when you said end credits. We didn't even talk about the Clea, Charlize Theron cameo. I don't know what that means. I assume some sort of.
She's his wife. Yeah, she's his wife at one point, and actually takes his place as the Sorcerer Supreme at one point in the comics.
What a cool line! She's like, "Unless you're afraid," and he's like, "Bet," and then he jumps through. That was awesome.
I thought I was expecting
I got a third eye,
Marty McFly.
Yeah,
Marty McFly thing. Call me a chicken.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where they're going. I mean, they're definitely getting to to a big event like they've had in the comics where we have cross multi battles between the different multiverses and things like that, because that's all they said in this entire movie constantly is about the multiverses collapsing and then fighting against each other and things like that. So
it was interesting
we'll
they gave the MCU the 616 designation. I thought they might go a different route since it's a little bit more ultimate-ish.
But that was one spot where I did get a lot of claps in there with the 616 reference.
The guy to my left really liked that a lot. He was like,
I had nobody. I had seat hopper sitting next to me. So
you had me.
Yeah,
very quiet.
I know. Brandon was sitting over there being all stoic the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish different scenario.
I had hoped for the experience, the atmosphere and experience of No Way Home.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That again.
You would have been sitting beside me during No Way Home. It would have been a different scenario. I love that movie.
I know. Brandon didn't have to sit next to me during No Way Home. He heard me scream anyway.
That's true. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Any other final words on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? I know I mentioned this earlier. I'm halfway kidding. I'm probably going to give this show to Alan and Britt because I don't know how much longer I can do this. So,
you got two DC.
I don't want to be the guy that just craps on everything.
Well, you're doing a damn good job at it, Brandon.
No, I think honestly, like in general, and I felt myself kind of getting that way a little bit, just in general of everything coming out. I think we're all just getting a little fatigued of everything. So if you think of like superhero fatigue, it happened in the 90s with all the campy 90s superheroes where they were just like coming out left and right from every studio. Now we're getting it from Marvel. Like literally we either have a movie or a Disney Plus series constantly. We've got Star Wars, we've got DC, it's a lot.
It's becoming too much, especially when you have something like Marvel where everything's interconnected and you kind of have to watch it if you want to be in the know and be part of the water cooler conversation. It's also becoming more and more disposable in terms of just like it's kind of the same flavor every time for a lot of people. For me, it's become like that. There are different, obviously there are anomalies that pop up here and there as of late. But yeah, it's becoming hard to remain enthusiastic, and then don't even get me started on DC. So
no,
I don't know.
I think it's overload right now. It used to be we got one movie a year, maybe two movies a year, and now we're getting 3 from every studio that's based around this stuff.
If you would have told me 10 years ago that we would be talking about superhero fatigue, I would have told you were crazy because I couldn't get enough of them.
Yeah,
but now I'm wearing.
There's
thin
just
here,
fatigue. Not even just superheroes, man. There's so much content out there. Superheroes are one thing, but then just content alone is like it's so oversaturated. It's hard to, got to be very picky and choosy, and I don't know. It's tough. It's very tough. First world problems, but it's tough.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, once again, appreciate you jumping on. And we'll probably Moon Knight will probably come up later this week. Our review. We'll be sure to post that up. Posted some socials, and Chris, you're not on the Moon Knight train, I hear.
I have not started it yet. I'm interested. It looks like it's cool. I've heard good things, so I'll get to it. It's
better than Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah.
So I'll say that I enjoy most of it, but you can check out our review. We got 5 episodes up of it, so go check those out, buddy.
How do you know I'm not already watching?
After you watch, well, I know it wouldn't be wise, but I mean, you do your thing, though. I'm not going to judge you. All right, guys. Well, once again, thanks for joining. Everybody that's watching, thanks for tuning in. Drop a comment down below. Follow us on our socials and all that jazz. And we will see you next time on CapeCast. So long.